Hello, I am Marion Rosenberg. I hope you will watch this program to help create peace in your family. This show is about the power of words and how they impact our most intimate relationships. Today, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you my special friend, Elaine Rosenblatt, who is a psychotherapist in private practice for over 15 years. Today, she is my co-host. Welcome, Elaine.
Thank you, Marion.
And I'd also like to introduce to you her special guest, Vivian, who was a former client of Elaine's. And I'd like you to start with any questions you might have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to both of you. Appreciate
Thanks for having me.
You know, Marion, we're all familiar with the adage, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And usually it pertains to children, but I don't think it does. I think it starts someplace in our family of origin and carries on. And I think those words are powerful. And I think that as parents, that very often we model words, the tone, verbal abuse, and the way that the trickle-down effect on our children is very powerful. And I think that's what the show's about today. And Vivian, I appreciate you being here. It's wonderful to see you.
I'm so happy to be here.
I always enjoyed working with you, and I really do appreciate your time.
My feelings are the same.
I guess where I'd like to start, I'd like for you to tell a little bit of your story. If you would go back to your family of origin, and if you can remember things that possibly that your parents modeled for you, your siblings, but first tell us a little bit about yourself too.
Well, I am the oldest in a family of 3 children, and my father is a Holocaust survivor. My mother was born and raised in Chicago. Being the oldest, I think in any family, they are the experimental child. I grew up with, I always call them verbal bombs. I never knew when my parent was going to explode with very negative thoughts, and I never knew what I would do or not do to provoke those verbal bombs.
So do you think did you take that personally then? Is that what you're saying?
As a child,
yes, you took it personally as if you did something wrong.
Absolutely.
So it affected your self-esteem.
It affected my self-esteem, absolutely. And when I did get married, I was 24 years old, and I think that it just continued. It played out in my marriage. I was married for 26 years, and being a kid, the qualities that I was looking for in a man when I was in my early 20s were actually attributes that I thought my father had. And so in many respects, I did marry a man that was quite similar to my father, or at least evoked in me the same emotions that I got in my family of origin.
You know, I think that's such an important point, because what I see over and over when I work with individuals and or clients, it's as if we are recreating unfinished business. We have to work it through. And certainly it seems unconscious at the time that we're attracted to these very people that recreate our unfinished business from family of origin. And that's why I think it gets so volatile, but it's also a wonderful learning opportunity. And so if you can address that as well as the volatility and how it affected you, I'd appreciate that.
Yes. Well, when I was growing up, when my parents would argue, my father would not speak. He would shut off completely my mother or whoever he was angry with. He would just completely shut off verbally, emotionally, and it wouldn't be for an hour. It could be for days.
So you were really stonewalled.
I was stonewalled.
That was his, pardon me, that was his sort of he was using silence as a control.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think in part that's true.
Yes, yes.
So, what would get him back to talking, or did something?
It would always have to be us apologizing to him. And moving along into my marriage, my husband, ex-husband, did have similar qualities of my father. I did not know this. I didn't know it for years and years and years.
When did you find out? When did you make the connection?
I would say my children were young, and he would be abusive in the sense of making me feel as though I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't capable, and I found myself shutting down and feeling very alone, and feeling that I really did not have a partner. I felt that I was alone, and it goes both ways. I cannot blame the demise of my marriage solely on my ex-mate. It was me also. You know, we all are what we come from. And so what I saw a lot growing up was shutting off, shutting down. And for many years, I did scream back. I did not want to be like my mother. My mother was subservient, which I think was very common in that generation, in the 50s, in the 60s. And I swore to myself that I would never, ever be like my mother.
So part of you, I just want to understand correctly, part of you did the opposite of your mother. So you were
I was very verbal.
Very verbal. Was it extreme? The way in your responses, or was it?
Yes, it was extreme.
Okay.
I wasn't going to let anybody control me. I was not going to let anybody tell me what to do or how to do it.
Kind of like the fire in the belly. I'll show you. You won't do this to me.
Right.
So that was a part of it. But the other part was from your father that you played out also with your husband, is what I'm hearing, is that what I call, when it attacks our inner core, it becomes a core injury. That it affects our self-esteem, our sense of self, and we take that around with us. And I'm wondering, did you take that also with your children when you were raising your children?
No.
Were they affected by this as well?
I always felt that I was a very capable and a good mother.
Yes.
I think as human beings, we all play out our issues from our own life in our adulthood, in our marriages, and in our child rearing, and the things that were issues of mine when I was growing up, I did not want to follow suit in terms of my child rearing. I really tried to be very conscious in my parenting. I tried to let my kids know that I loved them unconditional, that I had an unconditional love for them, no matter what they did or didn't do or acted or didn't follow through, whatever the issues were. They always knew that, I hope that they always knew, I actually can't speak for them, but that I wanted them to know that I was in their corner. Always will be. I've got their back. I always will have their back.
Protect them. You didn't feel protected. You didn't feel safe.
I never felt
in your
protected.
own home, but you made sure that your children felt safe and protected.
Correct.
I'd like to ask you a question, if I may.
Sure.
Just to go back to the beginning where you said something about they would explode. Did that mean verbally? Was it yelling? What
it would be verbal, and I mean, I do. I want to keep a bit of privacy in terms of protection of my family. So I don't want to get too deep. But yes, it would be primarily verbal abuse. And as a kid, yes, there probably were spankings. Not there were spankings. There were.
It was pretty normal at that time.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah, it was. It's just I never knew when it was going to happen.
Yes.
And we had a mom that was so subservient that we never felt there was a protector, that there was anybody that we could go to that would be in our corner. And that's a scary feeling for a kid to have.
I can relate to this very much, so you're not alone.
I know that I'm not. But with, and then moving along, when I was raising my kids, if their father was upset with them, it wasn't like I would come to their rescue, because I don't feel that that is correct either. But I would try to talk to them about whatever the issue may have been that upset their father, whether they were right or wrong, but to try to give them an understanding from all points of view.
So you were wise enough and brave enough to knew that you endured, and what you endured wasn't what you wanted to carry forward to your family, and that is quite amazing. And
well, thank you.
That you were able to think things through, and I don't know what came first, your feelings or going for therapy, or...
Well, therapy played a big role in my life. I have a family member that has always used an onion as an analogy to our emotional self, and that is we are constantly peeling away the layers. And there were some layers that were much more difficult to peel than others. And I was never embarrassed or ashamed. I wanted to use whatever sources were available to me, Elaine being one of the most important people in helping me. I used to say during the hardest part of my life, she was my main tool. She was the tool to help me learn about myself and to trust myself and gain strength in myself to move on. So
some people just stay stuck.
Most people, I think, do stay stuck. It's a lot easier.
Much to your credit, you've worked very hard. I think that it's always, we could talk about other people and know other people's issues and discuss them. It's always the hardest, to thine self be true, to really look inside yourself. And as we were talking earlier before the show started, how do you listen to your inner self when all around you, like your childhood was chaotic, there wasn't a safety net to feel okay about yourself, yet, like you commented on, Vivian was able to be a much better parent. Some people either stay the same, react to their childhood, or like you did, you went the opposite, much to your credit, to help your girls. And especially women, young women, developing a role model is real important.
Right.
What do you think the effect, though, of the divorce itself, when you said that you married someone that was similar, and that the two of you and your husband at the time, I assume it was volatile at times, I'm assuming?
It was volatile in our early years.
Your early years.
As much as I feel that I tried to do my best in my mothering skills, I really was very deficient in my partnership skills. And both my ex-husband and myself, we came from a lot of dysfunction, although I think dysfunction is normal.
Pretty common word nowadays.
But the one thing that both of us had a very difficult time with, didn't understand, was in all relationships, and especially in a marriage relationship, is compromise. We each had our own individual issues, and those took over more so than learning to communicate and to compromise in our relationship.
And I think that's one thing I want to comment on, because that has everything to do with your show and what your endeavors are that are so important to you, is that words can either hurt or heal. I think words are very emotional. I think sometimes they come from the unconscious and we just kind of let them out. Very often with couples, what we talk about, we have to break a pattern, an emotional pattern, so they can begin to hear each other and listen to each other. And everyone wants to be acknowledged, wants to be heard, wants to have a time to speak. And very often, we're just like on autopilot. And when it comes very strong, just from the emotional part, like the anger, and you have that old anger, that old hurt, whether it be abandonment, we all have issues like that. And if we don't deal with them, they become bigger than we do. And that's when the words become dangerous and the tone becomes dangerous. And people have to relearn, literally, how to communicate. And how is the other person taking what I'm saying? How do you feel about it? And it sounds trite, but we educate in every way, but we really don't educate about basic communication, which has to do exactly with peace and collaboration and working through. See, it's not so much compromise. It's you don't give up yourself in good relationships. You listen to each other, and then you try to meet each other's needs. It's making a space for clarity. And oftentimes, when it's all emotional and unresolved, all it is, well, I'm right, or I have to get you, and it becomes a right-wrong thing, and a power struggle, and we lose the essence of the compassion, hearing each other, and actually just talking with each other. We don't know how to do it.
Here's something, if you don't mind, I'd like to interject.
Please.
I'm totally with you. The Goldie Hawn, Words Can Heal, and she has that website. You know I'm very into that, and I want to do a program about it.
Yes.
Something that I really liked was that they give you a pledge, and it says, don't worry if you slip and you didn't do it just right, but you must make it right. When you make an apology and really be honest with yourself. And I did have something happen at a Skokie Lions meeting, at the board meeting. I lost my cool. I mean, it was attitude. I didn't even realize it. And one of the Lions brought to my attention. I said, I am angry. And you're right. And I realized that, hey, we're all capable of losing it, but you've got to make it right when you do. And I think that's the only way we're going to find
peace and healing.
Peace and healing. I really think road rage and all the abuse and all the shootings is very largely connected to how the individual views themselves. That didn't have the love, or the connection, or the wisdom to work out the issues. You don't know who could act out what
at
way.
Any time. Well, you're absolutely right. And part of good mental health and learning about yourselves is you're talking about taking ownership and responsibility. And you're right, we all get angry. And there's a difference also between, and this is especially true with women, because women notoriously, either get really emotional and really angry, or they turn it inwards and they get depressed. There's a difference between being articulate and expressing your anger. I don't think anger is a bad thing at all. I think when it's pent up and distorted, it becomes confusing and out of control. And I think that's what you're talking about. And there isn't enough dialogue and teaching and communication about how do we teach our young people? How do we teach them that, the boundaries about, this is how you say it. Well, first of all, where does it come from? If you're in a grocery store and you've heard how some parents, mothers as well as fathers, talk to their kids. If you don't come here right now, I'm going to throw you out. Or we're going to, this rage, and they internalize that. They internalize that. And they don't know what to do with it. And it's just like how you were raised, but you funneled it in a different way. And also, you were able to look at your marriage, which took a lot of courage, and knew it wasn't healthy, and made a change. You made a change.
Yes.
And that certainly wasn't easy, I take it.
It was, well, you definitely know. It was a process. It was a very difficult process. But as far as I know, we only have this one life. And I saw examples very close to me throughout my life of relationships that were not healthy, long-term relationships, and it was not something that I wanted. And after lots of hard work, I listened to my inner voice, and I was completely honest with myself. And even though I was going to be on a road to the unknown,
which can be scary,
it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my whole life.
You bet.
There was a part of me, as scary as it was, I was also so excited that I was going to give myself the gift of starting over in life.
Oh my, how beautiful.
After lots of work. And even I didn't know what would be, how it's going to affect my children, my extended family, my friends, but I just knew what I had, and even though I led a very comfortable life in a monetary way, I had a dead life emotionally. And I always say that my lifestyle has definitely changed, but I've never felt richer in my life because I'm living in honesty, and I try to be very conscious in the relationships that I have with family, with friends, with my mate, my current mate, to be kind, to be thoughtful, and also to be honest, to always be honest.
So tell me, how long have you been divorced?
I've been divorced, this January will be 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, and you seem happy.
I have been happy every day since January 26th.
How do you think, if you look back at like a retrospect of your divorce and your children, how do you think it affected them to begin with and where they are now? What's the impact?
You know, I did not have young children when I was going through divorce. My oldest one was finishing college. My youngest one was a senior in high school when the whole process was coming to fruition. But they've been through a very rocky road because when you divorce, it's not just the husband and wife that are divorcing. It is a family that's divorcing. It's a family that is ending in terms of what it always was. It can be redefined into something new and possibly very good later. But during the moments of going through it, it is difficult. Luckily, I do have daughters that I feel have seen the example of a mom that used external tools to help themselves, and they did. One daughter in particular did follow suit, so she also tried to get the help that she needed. But I know that I have one daughter that does not live here, that has not lived here through the whole process. My daughter that lives in Chicago, she really saw everything firsthand, and I know that she, even though her world has changed, she is happy to see me happy and to see her father happy in whatever road he has chosen. And Elaine once said something to me that has always stood out in my mind. She has said many things, but one of them is the best gift that a parent can give their children is to be a happy human being. And my kids did not see happiness. It wasn't the worst household in the world, but it wasn't a home filled with honest joy. And now they see happiness, true happiness. And they've seen, I cannot speak for their dad, I can only speak for myself, but as conscious as I was raising them as a mother, I have also, since my divorce, tried to be as conscious as possible in all of my relationships, in how I communicate. And with the man that I'm with now, I'm a different person. And so in turn, they have seen me happy, and hopefully I'm setting another type of example for them.
You broke the
I broke the mold.
tradition.
I
Right,
broke the
right,
mold.
absolutely.
And that also they can see that in life nothing is set in stone. If they will be in a relationship someday that isn't healthy, I hope that they too will know that they can make changes, that they can better themselves or change themselves if they know that inside.
I have a question, Vivian, if you don't mind going back a bit. When you and your husband were going through the divorce, which is usually the worst time, and very often couples get very hostile with each other, and words are said, and high emotions. How do you think that tumultuous time affected your children? Because I want to also look at the trickle-down effect.
Right.
Because I see so many.
Right.
Okay.
Well, in our situation, it was our younger daughter that was around really from beginning to end through everything. And when we would argue, she always felt like she had to come to my defense, that she had to protect me. And I used to say, I'm okay, I can take care of myself. I didn't want her to feel that she needed to be my mother.
Role reversal.
Yes.
Right.
I played that role almost my whole life with my parents.
And I'm sure that was a burden for you.
It was an extreme burden.
Right.
And with my older daughter, I used to always be told, you have to set the example for your sister and brother. And I resented it. I resented it my whole life. And I never said that to my older daughter. I brought both of you into this world. You're each individuals, and you should each be responsible for your own actions, not responsible for your siblings' actions. For my younger daughter, she had a lot of anger in her towards me. I think kids go through so many different stages themselves. She sees, even today, I think that she's gotten over it, but when you see your parents together and you're seeing the worst of these people, and then later you see them happy and you're resentful,
It's confusing.
that why couldn't I get that parent?
Of course. So they kind of missed out.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
just, unfortunately, I think we could have done an hour or 2 hours show out of this. And you're just been two amazing women that I'm so proud of to emulate the wisdom, the kindness, and the sharing, because you know that it's not only helping you, it's helping the people out there.
I hope so.
And you've done a tremendous, tremendous service. And I just wanted to let you know we're winding down. So if there's one last thing you have to say, unfortunately, I think we could do 50,000 shows on this. But,
I just think the healthier we are, the more we know ourselves, we give that gift to our children, and I think we owe our children that.
And do you have anything you'd like to say?
Ladies, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. If you are honest with yourself, if you listen to your little voice, you will make your family and the world a better place.
Amen.
Very.
I think you should write a book. If you haven't
There
thought
you go.
about it, maybe collaborate, I think you have a lot to say.